Hey guys, Pie Guy Rules here, and welcome back to Pie Week. So today we have a Jimmy Neutron episode. Unfortunately, I used up the episode for Christmas, back when Hugh actually makes a pie-themed holiday, so I had to pick the episode that featured pie the second most, which would be this episode. And I'm just gonna tell you right now, pie is a major spoiler for the end of this episode, so if you haven't seen it and you still want to, go check it out before you come back and listen to me. So Jimmy is working on the nanobots that he previously made to protect himself from bullies, but went crazy and kicked the crap out of everyone. This time he thinks he's worked out all their bugs, and he's reprogrammed them so that they will only correct his homework for errors. Unfortunately for Jimmy, the nanobots take this job way too seriously, and escape and cause havoc again on the town. Jimmy tells them that they need to stop correcting people because people are supposed to be flawed because, well, that's what makes them people. The nanobots, instead of exploding with this paradox, decide that they need to delete everyone off the face of the planet. So Jimmy must figure out a way to stop the nanobots from basically erasing everyone. So where does Pie exactly come into all this? Well, Hugh, Jimmy's dad, has been trying to get some alone time, and it turns out the nanobots accidentally skipped deleting him, so he thinks he's the last person on the planet, which is actually a nod to a Twilight Zone episode, a really good one, by the way. Although in the Twilight Zone, it's books that the person uses as a means to keep living, whereas in this, it's pie. Endless pie. Apparently it can replace all your loved ones. Pie is just that great. And it's actually through Hugh's love of pie that Jimmy is able to save the day. You see, Jimmy thinks about pi, and he comes up with pi, as in 3.14 pi, and he tells that to the nanobots, but he tells them that pi is 3, and then that paradox causes them to explode. So, yeah, this episode gets a ton of pie points for having both the mathematical pie and the sweet, life-worth-living pastry pie. So how is the episode? Oh, this episode is great. This is right when Jimmy Neutron was starting out having these big, epic 22-minute storylines that focused more on action-adventure than it really did comedy. Not that the comedy isn't there, but this was right when the show started to take itself seriously. So you had comedy, but you also had seriousness and action and all that sort of fun stuff, which actually made the comedy even more funny because it's not constant comedy all the time. And the plot actually makes somewhat sense. Now, I'm sure the science doesn't all work out, that you can be stored in electrons and blah 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 blah, but it does make sense that you'd be able to, like, digitize someone, and it makes sense that if you're deleting someone, much like on a regular computer, you don't just put it in the trash bin and be done with it, you have to empty the trash bin. So it's relatable, it works. The science doesn't necessarily check out, but it's believable enough. So, yeah, I think the story's pretty epic and creative, and the comedy is definitely there. I love the way the nanobots bicker like some old married couple. It really works. And I also like how they correct everything. There's a lot of good comedy moments in there. And you can't go wrong with a character like Hugh Neutron. He is just really funny to watch, especially when he thinks he has the town to himself. He goes wild. It's like in the movie Jimmy Neutron when they have the town without parents. They have a bunch of fun, and so does Hugh here. He does all sorts of crazy stuff. I also like the idea that Jimmy relies on his dad to, like, bleed his uranium or something like that. Like, you would trust him with dangerous chemicals. So yeah, this is definitely a standout episode of Jimmy Neutron. Definitely worth a watch, and it's definitely a sign that the show was starting to mature and become something even more awesome. As usual, it's on iTunes, so I strongly urge you to check it out. And remember, endless pie. Hey, wait a second, I just realized something. I've reviewed 3 of these episodes in a row. Not in order, mind you, but they're all still next to each other. What a coincidence. All I have to do is an Election Day themed review and a Halloween themed review, and bam, that'll be 5 in a row. Well, Pie Guy Rules, out.